austerities, and charity to fulfill all the obligations mentioned above. Otherwise, one becomes completely sinful and condemned, even from the material point of view.
Om Jnanatimrandasya Jananjanasamakriya Sakshivamveditambena Tasmin Srigurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankum Lankayate Virim Yatrupatamaham Vande Sri Gurundinatarinam Dharmanandamadavam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishachunyavadi Bhasnachani Satarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are continuing the discussion between Maharaj Nimi and the Navayogendras. The last discussion we had Karabhajan. Out of 9 Yogendras, Karabhajan Rishi, he was mentioning about the Supreme Lord in Kali Yuga, how he will appear. If you remember, Krishna Varman Kasha Krishna, we discussed. The question was in different ages how the Lord descends and what is the process. It was asked by Maharaj Nimi. And Karabhajan explains how in Satya Yuga the Lord appears in white, Hansa. The process was meditation. Then Treta Yuga, he appears in red complexion, Raktavarna, Yajna, in the sacrificial fire, reddish. Sacrifice in the process. And in Dwapara Yuga, the Lord appears in rain, cloud, bluish black. Lord Krishna, and the temple worship is the process. And last session we discussed about how the Supreme Lord appears in golden form, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The process is chanting the holy names of Krishna. So Karabhajan goes further to discuss this very important verse, often quoted by Prabhupada, especially for those who are taking spiritual life seriously. If somebody not taking seriously, it doesn't make any difference. If suppose somebody has to take seriously, it means he may not be able to do something else. You can't do everything with a kind of full attention. If you want to put, it's a general thing. If you want to do something, want to pursue something very seriously, you may have to do some sacrifice. Like, when freedom fight was there. So many young people, they joined the movement, freedom movement. They could have done something else also. They could have done business, they could have done. They said, no, we want to sacrifice. No sacrifice studies. So many people may not have gone to the college because that was all run by the British anyway. Sacrificing studies, sacrificing family, happiness, sacrificing so many things. Because they want to put full attention on that. Something has to be sacrificed. So, if somebody wants to, because Karabhajan is discussing about spiritual practice for different ages, then he says that if the aspirant takes the process of Krishna, because we are having a lot of obligations, everyone has a lot of obligations. for different kind of peoples, different kinds of entities. And these obligations actually are in a very cultured society. So society's culture, the obligations are very easily fulfilled. Somebody doesn't care, that's a different thing. So now the question is spiritual practice and the obligations. Both are there. How to make a balance? So sometimes if somebody very seriously takes to Krishna consciousness, people blame that what about your obligations? Fair, isn't it? Hopefully she doesn't get stuck. So people generally question, hey, what is this? You are doing something and what is your obligation? Don't you know that? Your obligation to so many. And Harbhajan exactly addresses that in this. This is especially fit for ISKCON devotees of modern time, when they want to take it very seriously. Especially somebody joins the ashram, brahmachari. That's a more serious thing, by the way. At home practicing is not a, it's like, okay, others will say, kya kar rahe karenge. But somebody joining the ashram, they come here actually, hey, what is this? Because fellow is outside, having no chas, no everything. And here, completely shaved up, wearing some dhoti kurta. People sometimes come and cry. And they question actually, hey, what is your duty? It is not just the duty for only parents. Here the whole list is there. So now, Karmajan is making that list. And duty to the demigod. People don't even realize there is a duty for demigods anyway. Modern time. Starts with the Deva. Deva Rishi Bhutattanunam Pitranam. For demigods, the sages. Sages, because they have preserved the Vedic text. Parampara. It's coming in parampara, unless it is passed on to the parampara, you won't have the knowledge that we have now. Living beings, elaborate property, relatives are there. Actually. There's only one. Relatives starting with parents, uncles, sister, brother, distant relative, etc., etc. Friends, mankind in general, and forefathers. Not somebody is not even here. Especially when one does Pinda, they remember actually 3 generations. Father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Uska pahla kaun hai? Sometimes what happens, you may know your father, grandfather name. Great-grandfather, मालूम ही नहीं है. पूछना पड़ेगा, अरे हमारा grandfather का father है. वो बोले कोई old man का, हाँ तुम्हारा उनका ना father, हाँ अच्छा. They have to, say the names. I didn't know. I was doing, our ceremony was there for my father, And we said, "Hey, father, उनका father तो आपको मालूम ही नहीं था, देखा नहीं है, सुना भी नहीं है, कैसा मालूम होगा?" One old man telling, हाँ उनका father का नाम है ऐसा है. अच्छा ठीक है, बोलो उनका नाम बताइए. What about before that? Nobody really knows. Obligation is there for all. Obligation is there. So, the most important thing is that how to balance. Okay, these are all, you will have to know that these are all actually some or other connected to the body. These all obligations, relations, etc. by this particular body. Suppose forefathers. In this body, you are obligated this generation. No. But if you go to another dynasty, then your obligation will change. This obligation doesn't exist. The new obligation comes. In that family, 3 generations. So all these things, if you closely see, they are all mostly more related to the bodily obligations. So once you change the The entire scenario will change. In that also there will be relative, in that also there will be so many people, all this list will be there, but the obligation will be very different at that time. This obligation will be waived off. If you leave this body, this obligation will be waived. And now, what about the obligation for the spirit soul? And that is connected to Mukunda, Supreme Personality of God. Now, how to balance is the question, and the elaborate purport is there. So let us discuss one by one these obligations, what exactly they are. For demigod, we said demigods. What is the demigod obligation? Because demigods are the controlling deity of universal management, like rain. It looks like one can give a scientific explanation. The summer comes, the water from the ocean evaporates, forms cloud, and then moved by the wind towards the place where it is hot. Then precipitation happens, clouds come. Then physical explanation. But then behind that there is somebody called Indra, who is in charge. We may not be able to see him because of mismatch of range. You have to come in this range, you can't expect to see him. So, Shastra says, sun god. The sunshine is required, even for vegetation, for everything. Even for us, D3, if you want to know, you go into the sun actually. Sunshine is required for healthy life. For the working of the world universe actually. Wind. Chandra is required for vegetation. He is a demigod of vegetation. It is said that the vegetables and all, they get a taste because of moonshine. Sunshine ko din mein chahiye, moonshine bhi chahiye actually. Taste ke liye. For sunshine to grow and moonshine is to get the taste. Both are required. So all these benefits of that supply, we are getting from them. How can we say that we are not obligated? Suppose municipality is supplying water. Don't they send a water bill? If you don't pay the bill, your water supply will be cut. Electricity. Does Adani pay you the bill? Can't they get anybody supply? So all the supply, when we get physically, we pay the bill. And what about the air? Actually, government is not charging the air because it is not under their control. वो control नहीं कर सकते. पानी है ना, पाइप में डाल के कंट्रोल कर ही देते हैं. वाटर तो ऐसा जरूरत नहीं पड़ता. इसके लिए टैक्स नहीं कर रहा, नहीं तो वो भी कर देगा. Because air is available outside and they cannot just supply money to you. Maybe when pollution is so much, then it will come in the bottle, like पानी का bottle में आता है ना, ऐसा gas cylinder आएगा. That's a different thing. But now that we are inhaling, that means we supply. Shastra says Vayu is the person in charge. And are we paying tax to Vayu? We are paying tax to BMC. Then what actually it is right. Okay, water. Then BMC is supposed to pay to Indra also. No, actually. You are service provider. Suppose if you are one service provider, you get service from somebody, you collect from your customers and then you have to pay also. No? The problem is they stop there. Those days, the kings used to collect tax. And then they used to actually pay the tax in the form of yajnas. All this we read in Srimad Bhagavatam that even Brajvasis, they wanted to conduct a yajna for Indra in the presence of Krishna. That is for what? It is to actually pay tax to Indra. Because he gave rain, vegetation happened, agriculture happened, we have a lot of profit, so we will give something back to Indra. So it was a culture. The kings used to do that. That is why, the whole atmosphere was spiritual and everybody made progress by doing so. This way, the obligation for demigods are there. Whether we really appreciate it and understand it or not, we may not pay. Then Lord Krishna calls that person a thief. We are not calling. Stena. Lord Krishna says, Stena eva saha. Eva means certainly they are. Krishna is telling them. Those who take the benefit don't give back in return. Thief. Even Lord Ramchandra took a boat to cross Ganga. No? Then he said, I will pay. He said, no, he was not taking it. So Lord Ramchandra could have said that I am Supreme Lord, you are serving me, okay, right? That is what everybody is meant for. The duty of the soul is to serve the Lord, and Lord is coming in the front. So he is taking the service. So he just said that, okay, blessings. Blessings be there, sir. What is the charge? He said, no, ये charge नहीं चलेगा. हम लोग same businessman. People in the same business, they don't charge others. एक बार पर दूसरा बार पर का बात जाता है ना, चार्ज नहीं करता है. तो क्या तुम बैठो मैं तुमको करता हूँ, तो बाद में तुम बैठो, दोनों का हो जाता है equal. Then why Ramchandra? But this is river, no. This is छोटा पानी को पार करना है. So I will make you cross this, and you make me cross the bigger river. No. You are also boatman. So उनको boatman बना दिया. Because by the way, Krishna's lotus feet is a shelter boat. Samasitaye pada pallava plavam. Mahat padam punya yasho. So your lotus feet is a boat, and that means you are ferrying people. So you ferry me the Bhavasagar. I am only ferrying you, small river. You ferry me. That for you it is small thing only. So you ferry. So in that way, you take service, you are supposed to pay the charge. You don't take the service and don't pay the charge. That is thief. That's what Krishna is calling, by the way. So somebody takes the services of breathing the air, breathing water, taking water, everything, and then say that that is your job. No, doesn't work like that in a cultured society. So, yes, demigods are providing. And then so many living entities. See, when we are living in this world, you take different services from different people without even your knowledge. Suppose some animal is a cow. Are you obligated to cow? You take milk, then you are obligated. Obligation has to be continuous. It has to reach the final the person. And suppose somebody is running a dairy farm and he is committing very sinful activity, and then you say that just I purchase the milk, it doesn't stop there simply by purchasing. And the cow is not getting the benefit, still you are getting affected. That's why people encourage, take ahimsa milk. Milk mein kya ahimsa milk hai? No, if the cows are taken care in the very organic setting, that's called ahimsa milk. And the cows which are just for milking like a machine, they are using a machine. That is not ahimsa milk. The cow doesn't get the benefit, then obligation comes. Even you don't even know where the cow is, still the obligation comes. Like that, there are so many living entities. In the villages and all, you don't need an alarm clock. The roasters, they you get up. You are obligated to that actually. No, that he woke you up actually. No? You can't say that is your job. What can you do? Without our Recognition also, we are obligated to so many things actually. Birds are chirping, and you are in a nice, we are going for a sightseeing visit, we are going. And you get a nice, birds and nice, you are just looking at the scenery, You are obligated to take that service from the scenery, like different plants are there, grass, trees, waterfall. Sometimes people go picnic. When you go to picnic and you go and put your bedsheet and then sit and eat on the grass. Grass is not taking your dog. You are obligated. उसको ऊपर कपड़ा भी डाल दिया उसको ऊपर बैठ भी गया obligated. If you see in our life, every moment we are obligated to somebody else.
Now you are talking to us.
Afterwards, questions at the end. Not question time. Questions at the end. Note it down. So, yes, if you analyze, so you may not have ever thought that, just, yes, you are obligated actually. Sitting on the grass, walking on the grass, you just walk in the hot sun and you are a very hot day. You come under a tree is standing, you get into the tree, shade, obligated. Umbrella jaisa diya na? Protected. You get into the rain, somewhere, you may be bike, sometimes you see people are going on the bike, it rains, then you just stop the bike and take shelter of a chai ka dukan. You are taking shelter, obligated. You didn't even drink chai, but still you are obligated to taking the service from him, Generally. Sometimes on the highway, people get under a tree, at least thoda sa, uska baad pani girne wala hai. So some little shelter, obligated. Either in the sun or in the rain also obligated. So obligations are unlimited actually. List डालेंगे तो list तो लंबा list देगा. And then family members. Yes, this is obligation everybody talks about. Aptas, family members. First obligation is the parents and the relatives. Certainly obligation is there. It's nothing that, because you took the service, Mother must have served you so much. So the child grows up, he doesn't know what service he has taken from the mother, Then how does one know that how much service? Just watch another mother serving the child. And there's nothing rocket science. You are not so exceptional that you didn't take any service. If you are exceptional, why you are actually? So when you observe how to know that what service you have taken, you just observe a child, how much naughty it is and how much service, how much trouble he is giving to the mother, and how much the mother is tolerating and serving. You just have to watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all more or less same with Sattva. You also in the same category. Naya category kya hai? It is not that you are saintly person, you didn't take any service. Saintly hota tha, abhi kyun idhar hai? So this is, yes, this is generally what is demanded from people. Demanded, and it is acceptable. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Yes, because the whole idea of social security is that the mother takes care of the children, and the mother becomes old, children take care of the mother. This is supposed to be security. You won't find in Indian culture, old age home or no child running away and say that no, I cannot take care. It's a high Indian culture, that is upbringing. Normally accepted of social. Here in America, they have to have a social security number because nobody bothers about others. So society thinks that okay, it is our obligation. Here the obligation is distributed among the people, so it becomes easier to manage. There it is, father demands a lot of money because children they run away. They say, no, we don't care. So what will the old man do? All old age homes. Old age home is a Western culture. Old age home. Aptas, family members, yes. Nirnam, human society. Because It is said that it takes the entire village to raise a child. Child is getting raised not just because of just the family. The whole society also is part. Now, your child may be in the house, but he has to go out and mix with others also. No, they are also contributing for the upbringing. Uncle and neighbor and entire village. That's why it is said the whole village. It takes the whole village to raise a child. Why whole village? Because everybody is part of contributing something or other in the welfare of the child, learning, teaching, etc., etc. So why forefathers we are ancestors we are obligated, because they have passed on the cultural values from generation to generation, each generation. Like parampara, we say as it is. Like spiritual knowledge also has to be passed down. The same way, the material cultural aspects have to be passed down also. Otherwise, how will you know? But the whole problem is slowly it gets deteriorated, especially in the modern times. People don't want to follow, no. They said that, why I should do that? Why I should do that? So passing on doesn't mean just telling them to do. Passing on also involves teaching them why we are doing. That used to be the case before. Now it is not. That is why deterioration happens. New generation, they are not interested in doing, age-old cultural things. They become rebellious when they are told, okay, you do like this, you do like this. Arey, kya yaar, boring. These are all grandmothers' thing. No, we are all new generation. We can't do that. This is a bullock cart technology. We are the rocket science. We are going to visit other planets and we are talking to go by bullock cart. Easy journey to other planets we have to follow actually. Not by this Sputnik and other things. So forefathers and ancestors, they preserve the cultural values and pass it on obligation. What obligation? So when one takes to Krishna consciousness, then what happens? Exactly like a freedom fighter. When he wants to go for freedom fight, maybe he will not be following the obligation to the parents, What happened at the time? फ्रीडम फाइट के लिए गया जेल में चला गया पकड़ के डाल देते हैं अभी क्या है घर में तो नहीं कर सकता है कुछ obligation what you do how you fulfill the obligation for the father mother relatives family etc because for a higher purpose the lower obligation can be sacrificed higher cause. Nobody claims that a freedom fighter is failed in his duty to fulfill that. They say that not in a check here. You have done a good job. Like devotional service falls in that category on the highest level. So, several times Srila Prabhupada gives this example of how when a tree has to be benefited, what generally we do is we put the water in the root. Once the root is given water, the root absorbs and it supplies the entire. This is the process. We don't put the water on top of the tree. The branch has no capacity to absorb, but branch has the capacity to take the water from the root. So in this way, the Supreme Lord is the root cause of the entire creation. It is from him the entire thing has come. So when the service is done to the root, that is Lord Krishna, then the service is supplied to all the beings, including the demigods, relatives, etc. Because they are all part and parcel. The demigods are different limbs of the Supreme Lord in the universal form. The universal form of the Lord, everybody can be placed, including all living entities, demigods, everybody is there. So when the Supreme Lord is supplied, then entire creation is supplied. We don't have to supply independently. We don't have to put water. Yashmin to stay, Jagat to stay. When Lord is satisfied, entire universe will be satisfied. When Lord Krishna took one small particle of food from the Akshay Patra of, Draupadi. Draupadi is becoming famous now. So he didn't take a big feast actually. He took only little morsel and he felt satisfied. You can't force somebody, hey, you should not feel unsatisfied. No, I can feel sad with taking one morsel also. Somebody may not be satisfied by taking the whole feast also. But Krishna said, oh, I am satisfied. Durvasha Muni is satisfied actually. Overeaten kind of satisfaction. So this example, and also another example of food supplied to the stomach. Suppose you are, okay, food we are talking about. You take the food and put in the mouth. And mouth enjoys the taste. Follows, goes to the stomach. And then it is supplied to the entire, the person becomes very strong. The hand cannot say that, I brought the food and this mouth is enjoying, stomach is enjoying. By stomach supplying the energy, you will get energy to go and bring more food actually. Otherwise, idhar jaake food to khichega, chalo andar ja, khaan jaye. It has no capacity to absorb the food. It has only, it's a working sense. Hand is a working sense. Working sense can only do the work. It cannot absorb, it cannot enjoy. It cannot enjoy the taste of the food. Your working sense should work. Don't worry about the work. For you, the benefit is you will get energy to work further. Karmendriya, Jnanendriya. Karmendriya is to do karma. Jnanendriya will enjoy. So in this way, when the root cause, when the correct principle is applied, where to supply the service, to whom to give the service, which can be distributed to everybody. In the case of eating, it is stomach. In the case of watering the plant, it is the root. Like that, you have to find out whom should be served so that everybody else will be served. Instead of serving one person separately. One person separately. So in this way, Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of God, a service to Krishna is actually service to everyone. It may not be visible externally some of the cases. How it is, suppose if I serve Krishna, how my mother will be served? I am serving Krishna, my mother is not getting any food. What is that? It will not be physically, something which can be related, but how she will be served will be taken care by Krishna, either directly or indirectly. For that, one needs to have a higher understanding. We cannot physically prove. Physical proof cannot be done. But then Krishna will make an arrangement in such a way that things will be taken care. That one has to have the higher understanding of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada also gives an example. If there are the king is there, and there under the emperor there may be small kings. So if you are directly serving the emperor, then small king congregation is not there. If you serve the whole, and the part is already served, that's the whole principle. If you serve the whole, part service need not be served independently because the part is included within the whole, automatically included. Prabhupada gives in the purport it is mentioned that childbirth, a man and woman come together, that is called becoming. And the child is born. Then the father and mother will say, because of us the child is born. Child taking birth is one criteria. Then there are so many other factors. You want a very nice child. Every parent wants the best child, isn't it? Anybody say that no, chalega, chona, bekar chalega. We don't mind, no? Let it be a pool number one, no problem. Everybody want the best. But then, are every children best? Because child birth, parents are involved, fine. But beyond that, Karmana Daiva Netrena Jantur Devapapati. Lord Kapila teaches mother Devahuti that the previous karma based upon which the child takes place. If the previous karma is the best karma, you will get the best child. If it is not, then you have to live with the fact. A rascal may be there, you have to live with the fact. What can you do actually? Daiva Netrena. Daiva means actually supervision of the demigods. And that supervision of the demigods is because of the power given by Lord Krishna. So at the end of the day, wherever you go around, you'll come to Krishna. Your obligation to Krishna. So because Krishna has given the power to demigods, and those demigods have directed the soul to come and take shelter and become your child, that is why even though you have an obligation to the parents, but then you cannot deny the obligation to the Supreme Lord. That obligation will be always there. So, in this way, even when we say that there is obligation for demigod, that obligation is not independent obligation. For example, when yajna is performed for Indra also, for Indra, in every yajna, first the Supreme Lord is invoked. And he is offered the first offering. Then remaining is given as a prasad to the demigods. So in that way, even in the demigod worship, one cannot think it is very independent. It is in the overall picture. Your obligation, exactly like you are paying the tax to the local government, and then finally it goes to the central government. It is also mentioned that there is a layers of management. You can't just stop it at one layer only. That's the problem when the people get into demigod worship. They stop at the layer of demigod. They don't go to the higher layer of. All the demigods are having the power to not do that. So in this way, if we analyze all these so many kinds of obligations, we will come to the understanding that performing devotional service is an obligation at the absolute level. If one takes the process of performing devotional service, as we already mentioned, he may have to do some sacrifice because you can do only one activity. No, you can't do 10 activities and fully involved also, fully involved. So if one engages in Krishna consciousness, then he may not definitely have time to fulfill the obligation for all these demigods, forefathers, relatives, and friends, and other living entities, etc. So he may not have time to do that. And Karbajan Rishi, this is Karbajan Rishi is telling that, don't worry. If you take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, if you are fully absorbed, fully engaged in service of Krishna, all your obligations are waived. One cannot complain, saying that why you are not fulfilling those obligations. This is not a statement made by ISKCON devotees for their own welfare. We are not made this statement, we are not doing anything so it's good for us. No, this is Shastra. Shastra. Advaita says that when one is engaged fully in devotional service, because he is fully involved, he may not have time, so okay, no problem. And why it is accepted? Because he is serving the whole. Because you are serving the whole, because you are putting water, you are so much absorbed in putting the water on the root, or putting the food in the stomach, then one cannot blame the hand. One will blame hand, what are you doing? I'm doing my job, putting the food in the mouth, that's all. So by doing devotional service, one is fulfilling actually his duty towards the Lord from the spiritual perspective. Because Jiva Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. The Jiva's duty also is there. No, we are having duty for all these people. What is the duty of the Jiva? Soul. And the soul's duty is to serve Krishna. Since you are fulfilling that duty, all these duties are over. Doing devotional service is also a kind of duty, and it is actually parodharma. Savai pumsam parodharmo yador bhakti radokshaje. Serving Krishna is actually a superior duty. People think that is not a duty. Materialistic person may not accept it as a duty. No, it's a duty of the soul. Body and soul together we are living. We are only all these duties listed are for the body, by the way, as I mentioned earlier. Then where is the place for the duty of the soul? And that is Mukunda Parihritya Karta. When one does so, because the person is doing the duty for the soul, the bodily duties are considered less important and vain. If important thing, if a person is not performing duty of the soul, then he is supposed to perform the duty of the body. Suppose you are not serving Krishna, then you serve your mother, serve your father, serve your relatives, serve everybody. You cannot say that duty is also not a, no, I have no duty at all. Sure. And that is actually condemned, sinful, and he has to face the consequence in the next life. This life he can go on and on. Then there are people talking, and walking into the sunset, not knowing that how the day is going to open up. No God, I can't do that, I can't do that. Next, you face the consequence. Nobody need to be worried why they are not getting affected. They are talking all these things. They are not believing in God. Unko time aayega. Don't worry about his time. Worry about your time. What you have got it. So in this way, in this verse, so nicely explained by Karbajan Rishi that how we have got obligation for so many in this world, and if we are on the bodily platform of life, one should be fulfilling the obligation. On the other hand, if one takes the process of Krishna consciousness, serving Krishna fully, then his all these obligations doesn't really exist. And in this way, one can actually, by taking the process of Krishna consciousness, he can fulfill the duty of the spirit soul towards Krishna, and then make that opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, and perform our eternal duty. It's not a temporary duty. In this lifetime, I got this duty. In that lifetime, I got that duty. But there is some duty which is permanent in the spiritual world, and one can take up that duty to Krishna and be successful in life. Stop here. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So, as you said that if we are doing the spiritual duty, then the family obligations and other obligations are not important. But sometimes to live in the material, I was saying that since we are doing our spiritual duty, then the other material obligations and family obligations are not important. But then to live in the material world, sometimes we have to do the other obligations with family, our work and everything. Then how do we manage?
So, how much Krishna conscious you are is the factor that will decide how to make the balance. When we say that a person fully surrendered to Krishna, actually what it means. If suppose somebody, fully surrendered means 24 hours a day absorbed in Krishna consciousness, a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is the highest level of Krishna consciousness, completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, chanting like Haridas Thakur. And he was born as a Muslim. What is his duty towards Islam? What is his duty towards? इसके लिए उनके पास complaint था ना, you are a Muslim, why you are not doing your duty? Oh, but he chanting only 24 hours. And he was beaten up. Still he is performing duty. So if somebody is on the highest level of Krishna consciousness, for him, this waiver is completely applicable. For practicing devotees who have started Krishna consciousness and they are just like, because they are doing for a turn
It's a phone and the one nearby.
this one and this. So that makes difference. But they are hearing from here, no? Anyway, ठीक है अभी तो So practicing devotee, they have taken up some amount of Krishna conscious commitment, and that may involve doing some compromise and sacrifice. So we have to make a balance. We can't fully say that I am not obligated. So partial, as much as devotional advancement is there, that much obligation will be there also. 10% progress किया तो 10% sacrifice करते हैं, 90% तो रहेगा. So in that way, if we are just practicing and our surrender, let us say our surrender is 10%, so 10% you can sacrifice. So let us put it plainly like that. So we have to ask the question: how much surrendered I am? Am I 100% surrendered? If I am not convinced that I am not 100% surrendered, then I cannot claim the 100% waiver. Haridas Thakur can claim 100% waiver. So I have to ask the question: am I Haridas Thakur? If I am not Haridas Thakur, I should not claim 100% waiver. Then I have the obligation. ठीक है, मम्मी को भी देखना है, पिताजी को देखना है, रिलेटिव को देखना है, प्रोग्राम में जाना है, आना है. Depending upon how much. If you are, one thing is that if somebody is inviting you for the marriage, if you are not going, you should have the positive engagement of doing some devotional service. Not that you do something else actually. Obligation has been pulled up. So, for your practicing sadhaka, the real point is to make a balance of the obligations, but obligation cannot be taken to the extreme level of completely materialistic. So you'll have to draw a line depending upon your own progress in Krishna consciousness. Completely one cannot climb, or completely one cannot be just deviated from your. If you are okay, bottom line is this. If you are fulfilling the obligation to the family member requires compromise in devotional service, that obligation has to be given away. You cannot compromise your devotional commitment and your devotional practice. Suppose you say that, oh, मेरा relatives बुलाया. You have to come to the marriage, and you have come. So you went to the marriage, and at the end he says that no, this is the marriage feast you eat, and onion, garlic, something dal hai. No, you have come to the marriage. It is a respect. If you don't eat, it is a disrespect for me. Disrespect for the entire family. So you have to eat. Hare Krishna. So you have to draw a line somewhere. ठीक है भाई, इतना थोड़ा application में किया ना, इसको मेरे को waiver दे दो, तो वो waiver में ले सकते हैं। मेरा commitment है, मैं ये कर नहीं सकता। वो insist करेगा ना, next time आएगा नहीं। So any application that you have to do it without compromising devotional side, that is acceptable. But as long as one is not 100% surrendered, the obligations will be there. One should try to fulfill it as much as possible without compromising one's devotional practice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay?
Thank you.
You had a question now? Okay. Huh?
That time we talking about the application, no?
Okay.
Application. So that was based on application. And as you was talking to us, you become applicable to us. All of us. That was
Applicable means what? Obligation. We are, everybody is obliged to everybody else in some way or the other. So it's a matter of how much. Okay.
Question from last time. What is the skin color of Rama?
Green.
Rama.
Green.
Green. But within Treta Yuga, they think the color is reddish. I heard that.
Not all the incarnations. See, the incarnations are classified with different categories. Guna avatar, that is based upon gunas. And then Manmantra avatar, different Manmantra appearing. Yuga avatar, different yugas appearing. Like that, if you want to classify by means of yuga, then this is applies. But Ramchandra is not taken in the classification under yuga avatar. It's a Purna Purushottam, Maryada Purushottam. So in this category, he is not to be classified. If you have to classify by different yugas who is coming, and different yuga, different color also is there, then Satya Yuga is Amsa, who is white. There are so many avatars came, but then in the Yuga Avatara category, if you want to classify, then that applicable is Ansa Avatar. And in Treta Yuga, it is Rakta, red, that is coming from the fire, like that. So Kali Yuga, the Yuga Avatar is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, which is golden bird. So by means of Yuga, you want to classify in that form. Ramchandra doesn't fall under Yuga Avatara category. So then you cannot involve why he got green color. No, it's a different category. But so many avatars are there. In Satyuga, so many avatars came. Not that everybody is white. Sweta Varaha is white and Ansa is white, not other incarnations. So many things. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody?